coming up on SportsNet Central Football Focus. We're 2 days away from the Redskins and Texans, and Arian Foster says he's ready to carry the load.
They look fast and physical on tape.
How Foster fits into Bill O'Brien's system, plus the latest on Garrett Graham's status for Sunday. And we'll hit the college gridiron. Will the Longhorns bounce back from last year's shellacking at the hands of BYU? It's all ahead on Football Focus right now. Hello and welcome into SportsNet Central Football Focus. I'm Kelly Johnson, along with a couple of former Texans, Seth Payne, and of course Jay Foreman. We got a lot of defense. We keep coming up with defensive guys, and don't you guys know offense wins championships now?
It was, no. Yeah, you tried to catch
Seattle. Seattle showed that last year, right?
Yeah, remind the Legion of Boom on the Packers, reminding us they are ready to repeat as Super Bowl champs. We're going to talk about them later. Texans, of course, just want to get back to the playoffs. It all starts Sunday against the Redskins. It is our opening drive. The NFL season officially here. In news out of NRG Stadium today, tight end Garrett Graham will be a game-time decision on Sunday. He kind of popped up on the injury report earlier in the week with a back. That means if he cannot go, they're going to start a rookie at tight end and CJ Fedorowicz. Bill O'Brien says he has no problem with this. Here is the rookie, though, on adjusting to the NFL.
It's fast. Everything happens fast. Whether you're reading the coverage and you got a dual read on your route. Whether it's guys are obviously bigger, faster, stronger. So you don't have that. In college, there's sometimes where you're able to take a play off here and there or whatever. But a lot of people probably wouldn't admit that. But in the NFL, everyone's out there trying to get that starting job. So every play means. Is a huge role for the team, and you got to go out there and play your hardest every down.
All right, so Fedorowicz, a third-round pick out of Iowa. Seth, how comfortable are you if you're Ryan Fitzpatrick without Garrett Graham going with a rookie?
Well, I don't know if Ryan Fitzpatrick has that comfort level with Garrett Graham that somebody might, if he'd been here for a couple seasons. I think he's formed that relationship with Ryan Fedorowicz. It was CJ Fedorowicz, and CJ Fedorowicz has those dual threats of blocking versus the run and being a receiving threat. This is the kind of guy O'Brien wants. This is what he brought him in for. He might be starting a little earlier than we had anticipated, but everything I've seen from him in the preseason lets me think that they're going to be all right with this kid.
I totally agree. I think that coming from Iowa, it's a pro-ready system. He can block, he can run. I saw firsthand what he did in Nebraska last year, and the one thing I really like him, he's honest.
He's honest,
He took a couple plays off. I can deal with him. Now, if he makes a mistake, I know he really did. I like him a lot.
But offensive players can take plays off because that kid, you saw him, he looks, I hate to make the comparison, he looks like Gronk. He looks like he could be like a bricklayer or working at a bar or something like that. And in college, they kind of manhandle people. They can get away with blocking somebody kind of easier.
Those tight ends are those blue-collar guys, and he actually looked pretty good in the preseason. Ryan Griffin, of course, another young guy who's next up on the depth chart. Their offense, however, we still don't know exactly what we're going to see on Sunday because Bill O'Brien keeping it vanilla in the preseason. As for the Redskins take, well, here is safety Ryan Clark.
It's a lot of New England stuff, a lot of the things that O'Brien has taken from what they used to do. Obviously, you don't have the quarterback you had in New England, or you don't have the Hernandez-Gronkowski tandem or duo they were able to use at tight ends, but they do run those same type of plays. When you have Andre Johnson, one of the greatest receivers of our era, I mean, you always have an opportunity to make plays. Fitzpatrick, he's a guy that's mobile. He's a guy that we're going to have to tackle sometimes if we're in cover two, so we need to pay attention to that. And obviously, we haven't gotten an opportunity to see Arian Foster in the preseason, but we know what he can do. So it's a team that's very capable of moving the ball and scoring points on us.
They got guys up there who have been doing it in this league at a very high level, so you got to respect that. And they look fast and physical on tape, and every season is different, so their chemistry is going to be different with new guys coming in and out. So you never know how it's going to play out, but from what we've seen, they look like a very solid front seven.
Arian Foster talking right there. He said he feels wonderful. He missed the entire preseason. He should. He's fresh. He had the hamstring, of course, off-season back surgery. Cost him 8 games last year. He's going to be featured in this Bill O'Brien offense. Jay, how confident, though, are you in Foster's ability to be healthy an entire season and be that bell cow?
Well, I don't think anybody is healthy for a whole season, but I like him in this offense. He provides a unique asset to this offense. He can run the ball, be a bell cow. He can be a matchup problem for a linebacker, an old one like me, and also he can cause a lot of problems in the passing game, short and in long game as well.
Yeah, you know, and I think the other thing with Arian is Arian's a guy that we know wants to be simulated intellectually. Chick Harris, his running backs coach last year, used to talk about how keeping Arian interested is kind of a chore sometimes. He's going to be engaged every week. I think they're going to find different ways to use him. It's a different challenge for him every week.
Yeah, we were talking about being that dual threat running back, which is something he didn't necessarily have to be in Gary Kubiak's system. He's going to be used out of the backfield as a receiver a lot more this season with Bill O'Brien. Reminds us a little bit about your father, Chuck Foreman. Yeah. He was one of the first really versatile weapons as a running back. Yeah. We looked up the numbers. 1975, he led the entire NFL in receptions with 73 that year. Look at those numbers.
Yeah. Look at that. I mean, look at that fro and that mustache.
Your dad was something special. You know, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he does, and hopefully he gets in before too long. I think he really deserves it. I think he was well before his time. He was actually the fastest player to 50 touchdowns, so which still hasn't been broken. I think Arian Foster in this offense is going to be a receiver one week, running back the next. He might play a little slot receiver. I think what he brings to this offense, while healthy and engaged, can be phenomenal. Now we just need to make sure that he's mentally engaged. So we got to get maybe Phil Jackson down here, and get him focused on the team, and we'll be good.
Plus, he wouldn't say this. Chuck, great guy for giving advice. He'll break it down for you. I was a young 25-year-old. He broke it down for me.
You had a big advantage. Well, how about the backups? They kept 4 running backs with the veteran Ronnie Brown. You have the rookie Alfred Blue and Jonathan Grimes, another young guy. How comfortable are you? Is that a sign that maybe Bill O'Brien's not sure if Foster can last a whole season?
I think partly that, but also if you look at the composition of the roster, pass protection is big for running backs. You never want to really talk about it. You forget about it. You need a running back that understands pass protection. Ronnie Brown is that guy. And also, Jay and I were talking about it earlier. Ronnie Brown is a receiving threat. When he was a younger guy, this guy could catch the football.
Yeah, he's almost the older version of Arian Foster. But when you look at the roster and then you look at New England always carried 4 running backs and a lot of tight ends. And now that our tight ends are hurt, I expect 4 running backs to be up. They have to obviously show and improve on special teams, but Ronnie Brown, I think, is going to be that veteran presence, that calming presence, right. And maybe a little zen for Arian Foster, but then teach the young guys how to play professional football.
And Alfred Blue sure looks good inside the 20. Yes. The guy is explosive. He can get you some yards. O'Brien said all 4 running backs are going to play in some form in certain situations this season, but he expects Arian Foster to carry the load. Foster says he's ready to go. All right, another guy we're going to see back on the field, Brian Cushing. This guy has gone through 2 torturous seasons, ending early with knee and leg injuries. How hungry do you think he is? What kind of Cushing are we going to see this season?
I think you're going to see a guy that's not as rusty as he was when he started off last season. Last season, coming off of a ligament tear, a lot harder to come back from. When you're dealing with broken bones, hey, the bones heal, you do your rehab. We've all seen him out at practice, and with a little bit of film, he's put together physically. Yeah. He's a guy that you know has done the rehab. I think he's been hungry all along, now 2 seasons in a row. It's just a matter of protecting his knees when he's rushing the passer. That cut block that took him out last year was a clean block by Jamal Charles. He's got to protect himself.
He just needs to get off the injury bug. His playmaking skills and his leadership, that you don't have to worry about that. He just has to get through the first 3 or 4 games, get his confidence back, get the team's confidence in him that he's going to be healthy, and I think he'll play all 16 games and hopefully go back to the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, the mental part has got to be the biggest obstacle for him right now. He just wants to last the season, be able to help this team get back into the playoffs. As we look at Brian Cushing over the last 3 years, he played in all 16 games in 2011, but just 12 games since then, missing 20 over the last couple of seasons, including 2 playoff games in 2012. He had those 114 tackles in 2011, the last full season. That tells you just how much he means to this defense. Coming up, we're talking college football. The Bears and Longhorns both kicked off 2014 in style last week and got some surprising contributions. Plus, they may be the surprise team of the early season. How the UTSA Roadrunners are catching everyone's attention. And who has the edge in Sunday's Redskins-Texans matchup? We'll take you inside the battles on the field and on the sidelines next on SportsNet Central Football Focus. Back on SportsNet Central Football Focus, Texas and Baylor won big in their season openers, routing North Texas and SMU last weekend. But this week, both teams will likely be without their starting quarterbacks. David Ash out with a concussion. Bryce Petty has 2 fractured vertebrae. And while the Bears get another cupcake in Northwestern State Saturday, not the case for the Longhorns with BYU in town. Our Tiffany Blackman was at both wins last week and takes a look back at some of the highlights.
The breakout offensive performance for the Longhorns against UNT was that of John Harris. The receiver had just 5 total receptions all of last season. On Saturday, he had 7 for 110 yards and a touchdown. He's certainly come a long way, and that's thanks large in part to a conversation he had with Coach Charlie Strong months ago.
He's a young man that I had a conversation with him when I came in, and I told him, I said, you're going to have to improve, you're going to have to get better if you want to be a part of this team. And I just felt bad because I told him about 2 or 3 days ago. I said, you remember a conversation we had? He's like, oh yeah, coach. He said, it kind of gave me a wake-up call. And I said, yeah, but you needed that because you're very talented and you can help this football team.
I can play here. You know, my coaches told me that all through all camp. He said, you know, you can play here. All you guys in this room can play here. And that's the statement that I wanted to come out here and make. You know, I started off a little shaky, but you know, I finished off the right way. I was always told, you know, a lot of people don't get second chances, and so when you do get a second chance, you have to take the opportunity and grasp it.
Harris helped to carry the Longhorns offense while the defense did the heavy lifting, holding North Texas to under 100 yards of total offense, and they had 4 interceptions. A similar story in Waco, where the Bears' young defense answered a lot of questions, shutting out SMU and holding their offense to only 67 yards.
Defensively, I mean, that's just what made the game. I mean, that's what allowed the game to be won tonight. You know, it's the way that we dominated defensively, and the thing that I liked is you know, we kind of felt like, you know, going in that you know, we had a chance to have a good defense. These guys, I said, were young, but they're very talented, and I thought we'd be very good up front. And the thing I saw tonight was a lot of strength and a lot of speed.
The defense did a great job because they was saying that our defense was young and they were going to test us, and we was looking forward to it. And I feel like we did a good job.
To open up McLean Stadium, the defense did something that's rarely been done, and that's hold a June Jones-ran offense scoreless. The win Saturday marked the second time in the last 3 games the Mustangs have been handed a shutout. With the Baylor Bears, Tiffany Blackman, CSN.
Thank you, Tiffany. Well, the Bears and Longhorns meet up in 4 weeks on October 4th in Austin. As we look at the 2 defenses, they dominated in their openers. And look at the forced turnovers. Horns picked off the ball 4 times. Bears had 3 takeaways in their shutout over the Mustangs. Back in studio now with Seth Payne and Jay Foreman. All right, we know the 24-hour rule, but Charlie Strong, he didn't even wait for 24 hours. He was reminding the Longhorns of this week's opponent and the embarrassment last year in their loss to BYU. It was a sentiment echoed by safety Condry Diggs this week.
Still embarrassed about it. I think you can tell in my demeanor right now that I'm embarrassed about it, and I really don't want to talk about it, but hey, that's what I'm up here for. So, you know, I'm embarrassed about it, but like I said, we got another game. We play them on Saturday, and I guarantee we'll be ready to go. We heard about it a lot. We still hear about it. That's just how these guys are. They're going to continue to rub it in our face, and that's what they want to do. You know, that's going to build us up, get us ready to go.
And that is Quandry Diggs. Now, he also said coaches continue to rub it in their face. So, Jay, tell me, what are the coaches doing right now? They weren't a part of that loss, so they're making sure their team knows.
I think Coach Strong believes in the 24-second rule. As soon as you win 24 seconds later, we're going to remind you how bad you got beat last year. I think they're just trying to motivate these guys and build the culture of the University of Texas that we're not going to be pushovers and we're not going to lose to a university or a team like BYU.
Yeah, and I think, you know, this game was already being used for motivation for that defense last year. They got better as the season progressed. Part of it was just a back to basics as well as a change in defensive philosophy. But I think if you look at everything Chuck Strong is doing, from taking the logos off the helmet in the spring, making them walk to practice, now the disciplines, the suspensions that never seem to end, that's all related to playing good defense. In today's college football especially, where there's so much open field tackling against spread offenses, you have to be sound. You have to be good in your fundamentals. That starts off the field, it starts in the locker room, and it's what Chuck Strong is doing on the football field now.
So they allowed 550 yards rushing last year to BYU, but the Horns offense is going to have to take part of the responsibility this Saturday. They've got a sophomore, Tyron Swoops, making his first career start. Their 2 tackles are suspended, and their center is done for the season. This is a recipe for disaster, is it not?
This isn't a recipe for a young quarterback to make his first start in a somewhat a rivalry game or a redemption game. But the offense needs to be on time, run the ball, establish a run game, settle down those young offensive tackles, and then try to get deep on the BYU defense that struggles on the back end.
Well, and I think this is the perfect case where, as much as you talk about, hey, trying to develop these guys into being pocket passers, this is not the week for that. Hey, you know, Swoops looks better in the spring game getting out of the pocket. He looks better on the move. Go ahead and take advantage of that. And worry about developing him into a pocket passer later. You don't have the offensive line or the experience for it right now.
Hey, surprise this early season, UTSA. They almost knocked off Arizona last night, lost by 3 points. 4th year in the football program since they started. Larry Coker, the head coach. Is this a sign of how good of a coach he is?
He can really recruit. He can coach. You got to think, when he was at Miami, he had first-round picks in the top 10 every year. And I think he can recruit. I think he's the perfect guy for that program. Has some success at a major university, brought that culture down to San Antonio.
Right, and they had a great strategy from the beginning. They said, hey, we're in San Antonio. There's no major college team here, yet we're surrounded by all this talent. We're not going to get the best right now, but we can find the guys that we project are going to be good, and then we can develop them. And you look at their team. They've got guys that have been on that team a while, have developed into good upperclassmen. They've got NFL prospects on their defensive line. And yeah, it all goes back to Larry Coker and the administrators at that school, starting almost literally from scratch. They had to borrow equipment from UTEP, from Texas. They started out with a Walmart jersey that they were bringing around to raise money and raise support. So yeah, it's a great story.
Yeah, it's amazing. 2011.
Wow.
4 years that football program has been in existence. All right, up next, why Jonathan Joseph and Kareem Jackson will have their hands full on Sunday against the Redskins receivers. And in a matchup of 2 rookie head coaches, who has the edge on the sidelines? Well, after the Texans game Sunday, check out Postgame Live on CSN Plus. Seth Payne will be in studio with former NFL quarterback Sean Salisbury, rapper Bun B. They'll break down the game, and our James Palmer will be at NRG Stadium with Locker Room Reaction as we welcome you back to SportsNet Central Football Focus. And it's time now to talk about Sunday's matchup. We're going to break down a couple battles, find out who has the edge, starting, Seth, with the Texans secondary against the Redskins receivers. They have a lot of speed, a lot of ability out there for RG3 to throw to.
I'm going to have to give this edge to the Redskins. For one, Jonathan Joseph is coming off a training camp-long injury. We're not sure exactly how good he is. Plus, hey, these guys are going to be playing more zone defense this year. That sounds like it should be easier. A lot of difference there. Your eye discipline, where you're going with your eyes, your technique, understanding the zones. There's a lot that goes into that. I don't know if these guys are going to be completely prepared for the speed that is Deshaun Jackson, Pierre Garçon, and the rest of those guys.
I'm gonna take the opposite. I'm gonna take the Houston Texans defensive backs purely because of RG3. So it's a combination answer. I think that Houston Texans defensive backs don't match up physically, but I think RG3 is struggling to get the guys the balls that he needs to. So I'm going to go with the Houston Texans defensive backs.
And that'll help, obviously, having J.J. Watt, Jadeveon Clowney getting after RG3. Pressure is always key. All right, the next question, Jay, who has the edge when it comes to the Redskins offensive line against that Texans defensive front?
Well, if you're looking at the right side of the Redskins offensive line, definitely the Texans. I think it's a wash with the left side, but I think J.J. Watt provides the ultimate test for any offensive line. And I think that Houston Texans will come out on top on this one.
You know, and the other guy there that we don't talk a lot about is the nose guard, a position near and dear to my heart. But I really like Jarrell Poe. He surprised me. This is a load. This is physically the guy you want at nose tackle. And he does a really good job, actually, in getting pushed in the pass rush as well. Once you get that guy moving, it's hard to stop him.
Coach Poe also knows Romeo Crennel's system coming across from Kansas Kansas City, and RG3's decision-making has got to be key there. He's got to get rid of the ball quickly. All right, moving on. Next topic, Bill O'Brien preparing to make his NFL head coaching debut, as is Jay Gruden for the Redskins. Here's O'Brien earlier this week.
I'm excited. I think we're all excited. You know, anytime you have an opportunity to just personally to be a head coach in this league and to coach in your first game, it's very exciting. It's very exciting, you know. But at the same time, what's most exciting is to be able to go out there and watch these guys play and to coach these guys on game day and to be in front of the Houston crowd.
All right, Jay, so who has the edge, O'Brien or Gruden in this game?
I'm going with O'Brien. I think his experience at Penn State in a high-pressure situation makes his transition to the NFL head coaching realms a lot faster than Jay Gruden. Jay Gruden obviously has a famous brother. I'm going with O'Brien in this case.
I'm going to go with O'Brien in this case as well. And it boils down in a lot of ways to level of difficulty. I think Jay Gruden's got a harder task in front of him, for one, because RG3 is a young, moldable quarterback who's way far away from his full potential as a pocket quarterback, and his defense was worse last year. Bill O'Brien inherits a defense that was more solid, has more potential playmakers, and has a quarterback that, while he might not have the physical skills of RG3, can learn the offense and implement it more quickly than Jay Gruden's dealing with.
And the Texans do have the home field advantage. All right, still ahead on Sports Central Football Focus. Jay and Seth will prognosticate. We're big words here. Our NFL picks in our 2-minute drill next. Welcome back. It's time for Seth and Jay to make their picks in our 2-minute drill. A couple of games we're looking at, starting with the Redskins and, of course, Texans. Your pick.
I'm going to go with the Texans. I like the Texans' strength versus the weakness of the offensive line in an uncomfortable RG3.
I'm going Texans. First game, Bill O'Brien. I think they're going to be excited.
All right, 49ers at the Cowboys.
The 49ers big.
I'm going 49ers. Hey, the defense is weaker, but nowhere near as weak as the Cowboys.
Yeah, they've got a lot of losses right now. How about the Saints-Falcons?
I am going with the Falcons, which I think I'm the only person on earth doing that. I think people are sleeping on the Falcons. I watched them a lot on Hard Knocks. I don't know if I'm biased against them, but I like that passing attack. It's going to be different than it was last year without Gonzalez.
I think it's going to be the Saints. I think it's going to be the Saints big. Hard Knocks will not help the Falcons, neither will Brian Cox and all his funniness, but I think the Saints will win big.
Yeah, hello, Drew Brees. All right, Colts, Broncos, Peyton. Playing his old team again.
Right, no, Broncos. And I'm actually surprised the line is as close as it is on this one. Hey, the Indianapolis Colts have Andrew Luck and not much more. And Andrew Luck gets it done for him. But this is a better Broncos defense in Mile High. Broncos all the way.
I'm going Broncos big. You got to remember last year the Colts came back and beat the Broncos. Peyton Manning's looking for revenge.
And Raiders with Matt Schaub on the bench at the Jets. Who do you got?
I'm going Rex Ryan and the Jets. Only because it's a rookie quarterback and his last name is Carr.
Yeah, and exactly. The Jets have almost 0 cornerbacks on the roster, but it's not going to matter against Derek Carr.
As we look at the fans' vote today on our website, they're all picking the Texans, of course. Texans are home. A lot of unknowns with these two teams. Two head coaches obviously making their debuts, but that's going to do it for Football Focus. For Seth Payne and Jay Foreman, I'm Kelly Johnson. Dwayne Brown will be in studio on Monday. We'll see you then.